The night was young, the neon lights of the roadside bar flickered against the blacktop, and the hum of motorcycles filled the air. It was the kind of place where locals knew their own, and outsiders stood out immediately. Tonight, however, an unfamiliar face had walked through the doors, a man with quiet steps, worn boots, and a presence that seemed both heavy and gentle at the same time. He didn't demand attention, but somehow, the whole room felt it when he walked in. His name was Daniel, a veteran who carried more battles in his heart than most men could imagine. He wasn't there to stir trouble, just to enjoy a drink, maybe find a corner where silence could drown out the echoes of old memories. But trouble has a way of finding those who least deserve it. 5 bikers, loud and dominant, had been holding the bar hostage with their energy, their leather vests marking them as part of a local gang. They thrived on intimidation, and when they saw Daniel, alone, calm, and clearly not one of them, they pounced. "You don't belong here," one of them barked, his voice sharp enough to draw everyone's eyes. The others echoed the words, shouting, laughing, pushing their weight around, making sure the stranger knew he was being sized up. The bar went quiet, waiting for what would come next. Most men would have avoided the tension, perhaps even left, but Daniel wasn't most men. He didn't respond with anger, nor did he match their volume. Instead, he turned slightly, his eyes steady, his voice low but cutting through the silence like a blade. It was a whisper, but every ear in the room caught it. "I've stood in places where men begged for their lives, don't test me." The words weren't shouted, yet they carried the weight of truth. The lead biker's face drained of color, his smirk collapsing into something brittle. He had seen enough men bluff to know this wasn't one. This stranger, this veteran, was no ordinary man. The other bikers shifted, uneasy. They were used to fear coming from volume, from threats shouted across a room. But this was different. This was the calm of a man who had faced death and survived it. A silence heavier than fists filled the space, and even the bartender's hands stilled on the counter. The lead biker stepped back, confusion clouding his bravado. He wanted to bark again, but his voice betrayed him, cracking in the middle. That crack was enough for everyone to hear. The spell had turned, and suddenly, the predators looked less like wolves and more like lost boys caught in the wrong storm. Daniel didn't press. He didn't humiliate them, didn't rise from his seat. He simply lowered his gaze back to his glass, as though the entire scene had been a minor inconvenience. That restraint, that refusal to fuel the fire, was what truly broke the bikers. One by one, they made excuses to step back, to retreat to their table, suddenly quieter than they had been all night. And for the first time in years, the regulars at that bar, people who had been bullied into silence, felt the weight of that gang's grip lift, if only a little. What no one knew was that Daniel's calm wasn't born from arrogance. It came from scars, from nights lying awake replaying faces he couldn't save, from days learning how to breathe again when the world seemed too loud. His whisper wasn't meant to frighten, it was simply the truth spilling out, because he had no need to prove himself anymore. His battles had already been fought on fields these men couldn't imagine. That whisper carried with it the ghosts of brothers lost, and the kind of strength that only comes from carrying weight too heavy for any one man. After the tension faded, the bartender approached, setting another drink in front of Daniel without a word. His eyes said everything: respect, gratitude, even awe. Around the room, conversation slowly picked up again, but the energy had shifted. The bikers sat in their corner, quiet, subdued, like the fire had been drained from them. And those who had witnessed it couldn't stop thinking about what they'd just seen, how a whisper had carried more power than any scream ever could. Later that night, as Daniel stepped outside under the cool air, an older man who had been sitting in the back followed him out. His hand trembled as he lit a cigarette, but his voice was steady. "My boy's over there now," he said quietly, eyes cast to the ground. "In uniform. I worry every night if he'll come back. Seeing you tonight, I think I understand a little better what he's carrying." Daniel paused, placing a hand on the man's shoulder. "Your boy will need you to be strong when he can't be. Just be there. That's all that matters." It wasn't just a bar fight that night. It was a reminder, to everyone who witnessed it, that true strength isn't about how loud you can be, or how many people you can scare. It's about discipline, about quiet courage, about carrying scars with dignity. Daniel left the bar without fanfare, but the echo of his whisper lingered. And for days after, people in that small town told the story, Not about the bikers, but about the veteran who taught them what real strength sounded like. And if you're still here, if that story touched you, then don't just keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need that reminder today. Because sometimes, the quietest voices carry the loudest truths. And sometimes, a whisper can change everything.